Hi there, my name is Daniel Maynard. For the purposes of this assignment, I recently interviewed Matteo Moroni about his experiences regarding the cultures of production within his field of production management. Matteo is currently employed as the production coordinator with Wall-to-Wall Media. Having been at the company since January 2017, his credits include Who Do You Think You Are, 100 Years Younger in 21 Days, and Blitz, The Bombs That Changed Britain. It was during pre-production of Blitz when I first met Matteo, working for Wall to Wall as part of a placement scheme. Working closely with him during my time there, we've remained in touch since, and he remains a valuable contact. I chose to interview him for this assignment as I wish to pursue a career in Matteo's field, production management. Matteo contributes his success so far within the field down to his education and network, along with the opportunities and resources that have presented themselves along the way. When relating his success to the concepts of Bourdieu, it's clear that Matteo's success can be attributed to his habitus and forms of capital. Sociologist Louis Wacquant describes habitus as the way society becomes deposited in persons in the form of lasting dispositions or trained capacities and structured propensities to think, feel, and act in determinate ways which then guide them. Growing up in Italy, Matteo was born to a middle-class working family with strong moral values. He was taught the importance of respect and working hard in order to achieve his dreams. From childhood, Matteo was able to develop and be guided by his habitus, which were the values adopted from his family, friends, and early education. By the time he graduated from middle school in 2009, Matteo was fluent in three languages: Italian, French, and English. He was accepted into an Italian university, but decided to take a break from education and pursue his passion for media and television production. Matteo was able to use his language skills to secure his first role within the industry as an English translator, responsible for cinema dubbing and subtitling. He was able to quickly move on from this position, securing roles with several Italian-based production companies. With roles ranging from researcher to production coordinator, Matteo was able to develop his network and skill set before returning to education in 2015, completing a short course in screenwriting at the Scuola Holden School of Storytelling and Performing Arts in Rome. Having developed his industry skill set, Matteo made the move to the UK to pursue his career further. Since making the move to the UK, Matteo has continued to work for a number of production companies, made possible by his extensive network and knowledge base. As Bourdieu defines, Matteo's success is down to a combination of his habitus and the accumulation of his forms of capital. For Bourdieu, the two most significant forms of capital for individuals to accumulate and utilize are social and cultural. Cultural capital is a person's education, training, and knowledge, while their social capital is the resources and network of which they have available. Through the development of his habitus, Matteo was able to generate a form of cultural capital through his language skills to secure his first industry position. Since leaving there, Matteo has continued to progress through various roles and further education and training, which has enabled him to develop his knowledge and network, allowing him to progress further within the media industry as a whole. Matteo embodies significant social capital through his vast network, along with the three types of cultural capital he possesses. His embodied cultural capital is derived from his habitus and the knowledge acquired through his education and professional career so far. His linguistic capital is through his mastery of three languages, acquired from his national culture. His objectified capital culture includes his personal property that could be used to generate economic profit, and finally his institutionalized capital, which formally recognizes his education and career development, along with his achievements both here and in Italy. Through my interview with Matteo, his passion for the role and industry was clear, yet one concern he has is with the level of creative input to the production he is credited to. Currently, working as a production coordinator, he's responsible for all the administration, organisation, and secretarial work that is involved in producing a television programme. And so, despite possessing extensive creative and technical skills, he's held back by the definitions of his particular role within the industry, a position where there's little room for imagination and creative input. Earlier research into the labour of creative workers suggests that what counts in these areas is conformity to set protocols, following standing operating procedures, and the ability to produce the same thing repeatedly on a continuous and extended scale. A notion that Matteo reinforced when he described his role as often tedious and repetitive. What drives Matteo is the knowledge that with the accomplishment of his future career aspirations comes the knowledge that he will be able to have a more creative input. This is associated with producing roles, seeing that the role of the producer is to be more immediately involved in operative and conceptual processes. There's more totality in the productive process and therefore more control for the individual. Despite his promising career so far, Matteo's future within the UK creative industries has been cast in doubt. As an Italian national and EU employee, some of his success can be attributed to the level of freedom of movement associated with being a member of the European Union. The latest sector estimates show that the EU nationals account for 6.1% of the UK creative industries workforce. Yet despite this, Britain voted in favour of leaving the European Union last year. The creative industries are the UK's fastest growing economic sector, with the country being a world leader in the arts and creative industries, with brilliant homegrown creative workforce being reinforced by international labour pool keen to contribute to our exciting, open-minded, multicultural country. As Matteo acknowledges, talent and skills are fundamental to the success of the UK creative industries. Yet, as the DCMS openly admits, the industry has long-standing skill shortages that are a result of inadequate training and educational background. International workers help address this skills gap, keeping the UK's creative industries staffed with the talent and skills they need to thrive. As a consequence of Brexit and the associated restriction of movement, we have potentially compromised our creative and commercial success by restricting the number of occupants who could potentially bridge the skills gaps exhibited by UK labour forces. There's a very real risk that skill shortages in the UK will be made worse by any restriction of freedom of movement that comes with tightening immigration laws and the UK leaving the EU. European talent has supplemented our own in terms of supplying highly skilled talent to our creative companies. It has also provided a business advantage by allowing international talent to move and work here, whether as a freelancer or as part of a creative company, extending our output in terms of global branding and wealth generation. The implications of the new post-Brexit regulations are of particular concern to Matteo and his career aspirations, as they will severely hinder his capabilities to compete the role of a producer here in the UK, as is the case for all EU nationals currently working here. These are very uncertain times with no clarity over fundamental issues involved, such as freedom of movement for people associated with the industry. Due to this, despite his passion, along with significant capital, Matteo may very well be forced to leave the country in order to achieve his career goals, which I would consider to be a loss for the UK creative industries.